Yeah, because I wonder. I mean, the coal lobby is one thing to be aware of for sure, and I wonder if part of the incentive as well for South Africa is they have just had so many people employed by that industry for so long. You there's a lot of people that are voting for you, and they want to keep their jobs, even though I mean, to work in a coal mine, I can't even think of a worse health hazard as far as an occupation. So you just think that a country with so much sun, so much even I imagine hydropower in South Africa must be abundant as well. But yeah, it must be frustrating from where you are, kind of like wanting to see us progress faster and be able to see it from more macro approach to be like we could do X, Y, and Z, and we are just not doing it. Like, do you find that some days that like watching the transition is a bit frustrating?
So I I have a kind of my own personal take on this, which is so I grew up in like a coal community, and so there's always for me this question of I actually kind of get it what might be stopping
Mm,
people and holding people back locally, in part because I've seen it. Right, it's connected to
yeah.
it's like you're saying, connected to jobs, also connected to culture, social characters of entire regions. A lot of these communities are like one-legged towns, in terms of the economy. It's like a one-legged stool.
Mm,
So there I get that, and I think that this is something with the transition that I think there are people who you can get hung up on maybe what's holding some things back in certain places, but ultimately, I mean, there's been a lot of progress, and the transition is happening. It's not something that's, I mean, there's double the amount of investments this year going into renewables that's going into fossil fuels, and
amazing.
financiers and bankers aren't doing that. For the good of the heart, right? They're doing that because they think they're going to make money. So I think that
Right.
there's this, you're seeing that huge amount of shift, and it's that I alone I kind of we see a lot of that writing on the wall, but I do think that why in certain places it's a little bit more, it's going to take more work, it's going to take more, communities may resist it more, that I actually understand. Actually, I feel like I get that, but I do think
Mm,
not losing sight sometimes of the good that and the progress that has been made so far.
right. I appreciate that perspective. I mean, it's nice to hear that you said that there are financiers and VCs, et cetera, that are starting to put money into this sector. I think some because I think they believe there's a ethical, moral component to do this, so they have an opportunity to make a real impact. And the other side is, yeah, it has to make financial sense for where they're deploying these investment dollars of their funds. But it
Yeah.
would be nice to see some governments take a much firmer stance and at least putting more money into it. Because I mean, we've seen stuff that China can build that almost seems like a joke on social media. They're building bridges in 2 weeks, and it's taking the Southern Italians has taken them 40 years, right, to get some things done. And so
Yeah.
you just think if there was a government that had, I guess, the impetus to make a real difference, and they want to make this transition because they want to lead the world and also be great for their citizens, that they could really move mountains. But it's just not happening quick enough for this iPhone generation that we're a part of now is moving.
I mean, what you're saying there, I think, is look at China. China has they surpassed their own goal for building out solar. I mean, they
Wow.
lead the world in building out solar. They surpassed their own goal 6 years early, 6 to 4 years early. It's pretty astronomical how much solar they build, and it's that's one of the reasons when I'm talking about solar's exponential growth. A lot of that is accounted for because of China's exponential growth in the sector. And it's, like when I was talking about that solar rush in Pakistan, I mean, those cheap solar panels that were coming into Pakistan that people were wiring on their roofs was coming from China. It's really,
Mm.
dominating a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the build out. And I think that absolutely, I mean, what you're talking about in terms of can the kind of public policy support, I think that you get that. What we sometimes forget is even these industries we have now, fossil fuel industries like oil and coal and gas, at some point they needed a lot of public support. Someone had to go dredge all the rivers, they had to go and they had to build the roads, they had to build the railroads in order to make the coal industry operational. It didn't That was
Right.
paid for with taxpayer money. And so I think that there's a lot of that which we just kind of, because those infrastructures exist, they act as if they're sort of inevitable, that they were always going to be there, and they weren't, and I think that it took a long time. I mean, the federal highway system, these are major investments in an industry that supported an industry that was fossil fuel based. And I think that we have seen these kind of, where you do see, whether it's blended finance, where you're pulling philanthropy and the public sector together and then trying to de-risk things so that the private sector will move in quicker. I mean, there's a lot of ways that people are thinking about, how do we do this to make this work? But yeah, you're right. I mean, when you see this kind of, these very, you can move fast and quick when it's sort of, mandated, right? And I think that you have more of a market-based approach, which is going to be a scrum, because you're going to have the vested interest. It's going to be a, that's the way that will work, and lobbying and everything else.